Hi guys, it's great to see you today. What have you been up to this week? I've started reading a book and I can't put it down. It's a real page-turner. It's called Cloud Atlas and was written by David Mitchell. Probably you've heard of it. It was adapted into a Hollywood movie a couple of years ago. At the first glance, it looks like a collection of unrelated short stories, but in fact, it's a novel. You get this first impression because chapters are set in absolutely different epochs. 18th century, the 60s, and even distant future. Moreover, the protagonists are different. However, after having read more than 100 pages, I've noticed that all protagonists have the same birthmark. The plot is really gripping, and it feels like there will be several twists to the story. I love this kind of literature. By the way, I haven't read any reviews, and I even haven't looked at the blurb yet. I don't want anything to spoil the ending for me. As for the film, I prefer watching films after I've read the book, because there is more room left for my imagination. I can picture characters and locations in my head. It's always fun afterwards to compare. I can say that quite often my take on the story is very different from the director's vision. As you understand, I am a terrible bookworm. I used to take out a lot of books from the local library, but now I use an e-reader more often. It's convenient, but with the classics it doesn't feel the same, I have to say. I'm lacking the feel of a book and its smell. I love going to flea markets or small bookshops to find some rare and unusual books. For example, I've got a pop-up Romeo and Juliet, and it's not a children's adaptation. By the way, I've also got a huge collection of bookmarks from different countries. As for genres, I don't have any particular preferences, but I enjoy fantasy fiction a lot. I even reread children's fairy tales from time to time. Some of them turn out to be unexpectedly good. I believe there is no bad literature, so when I get my hands on a book, I almost always read it from cover to cover. Although I have to say, with contemporary writers, it happens sometimes that the storyline is too predictable or that the book is poorly written in terms of language. So yeah, there are some books on my list which I think are absolutely unreadable. Anyway, there are so many books to choose from that sometimes I find it impossible to make up my mind about what to read next. Luckily, last year I came across a list of novels that come highly recommended by the BBC. So I started a reading challenge with some of my friends. Now we compete to see who will finish the list first. With my love for reading, I guess I take after my grandma. She was a travel writer. It's an amazing job, isn't it? She traveled around Western Europe and wrote a series of travel books about her trips. I read all of them. They're quite good, believe me. The series even had several editions before it went out of print. My grandma told me that once she had dinner with Tom Stoppard. You probably don't know him, but he's a famous playwright in the UK, so it's quite impressive. She doesn't write anymore, but she still works for the same publishing house as an editor. It means I get a lot of free books. What about you? What is the last book you've read? Do you have your favorite quote? Share your answers with us in the chat.